Part 77. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 761. Lum Wan and Ming Xiu didn't recognize each other immediately, and they pretended to be unfamiliar with each other, so that they could take care of anything unexpected. Although one of them is on the flying instrument of the Roman family and the other is on the flying instrument of the Xianxia family, they have been chatting face to face with the special array crystal ball. This kind of crystal ball was only refined by Ming Xiu so that the ice halberd could be given to Lum Wan, and it could only be used when the two of them were not far from each other. Yan'er, did you deliberately keep your hands on that person in the end? Lum Wan replied, well, it is said that the person is from the root family, and there is an elder in the root family who is the valet of the fox in lands. Do you want them to go to the starfish banquet, and then let the root family invite those two valets to take action, and finally attract Lance's attention? Ming Xiu was more of Lum Wan. Yeah. As the king of the sea, it is not easy for Lance to meet him, Lum Wan pouted. In fact, there are different levels of participation in the starfish banquet. The Roman and Xianxia family must belong to the last stream, and the possibility of coming into contact with Lance is relatively small, Ming Xiu said. As for whether Lance would hurt them, he wasn't worried. First, although Lancey is only a clone in the lower realm, it is impossible for him to deny the IOU he owes, otherwise it will become a cause and effect in the future, which will hinder him from transcending the calamity. Moreover, Lance has a good impression of his family Yan'er. Once the avatar's feelings return, Lance's body will not have that kind of mind, but it will not hurt Lum Wan. Second, it was also because of his identity. If there was no absolute hatred, Lance would not touch him and Lum Wan. After all, there was Emperor Hades behind him. Others may not know, but he is very clear about one thing. What his father Emperor often appears outside is just a clone. The deity has already broken through to the peak cultivation realm of the fusion of heaven and human realm. Otherwise, it is not certain who wins and who loses. If it weren't for the fact that the triple heavy water was very useful to my mother and second brother, I wouldn't be too lazy to go to the Blue Fox to ask for something on the IOU. Lum Wan shrugged. If there are a few more 3-layer heavy water, or even 4-layer or 5-layer heavy water, her mother will have the opportunity to break through to the fusion of heaven and man. Her second brother's cultivation practice will also be able to go further. Even if you don't come to him, one day he will come to you to recover or destroy the IOU, Ming Xiu said. Lum Wan nodded, that's right. Otherwise, he will always owe me a cause and effect. If there is a day in the future, he will be bound by cause and effect. That's why I dare to attend the starfish banquet. Otherwise, if Lance is a vicious person, she will die if she goes, but because of the IOU in her hand, and because of cause and effect, Blue Fox can't do anything to her. And he should have hoped that she would go to him to settle the account. After all, the earlier the cause and effect, it would be more beneficial for a strong man like Lance. Are you going to return to their territory with the Roman family first? Ming Xiu asked. Yeah. Participating in the starfish banquet is the prosperity and honor of their family. It is said that they have to go back and prepare, Lum Wan said indifferently. The starfish banquet will be held in a month, and it will be here soon. I just took advantage of this time to collect some spirit grasses and spirit fruits unique to the Sea clan, she added. Meditation thought for a while and replied, well, I had a little insight during the battle before, and I just wanted to retreat for the last month. Then we met at Nanhai City. Lum Wan's eyes were filled with tenderness. She and Ming Xiu are not in a hurry to stick together for more than a month. After all, they will still have a lot of time together in the future. Well, I'll come to find you when I arrive at the Nanhai City. Ming Xiu Gujing's deep eyes were full of warm colors. It is good. After the two agreed, they closed the crystal ball and began to practice. They all knew that the outer territory battlefield was about to open. It was an extremely cruel place, and their strength had to be continuously improved. More than an hour later, the people of the Roman family returned to the flying instruments one after another, all with happy and excited smiles. The family has not participated in the starfish banquet for thousands of years, and it is really exciting to participate in the first place this time. Along the way, many disciples of the Roman family came to chat with Lum Wen. She was not arrogant, but rather easygoing. The young disciples of the Roman family had a good impression of her. 10 days later, the flying instrument fell to the territory of the Roman family, and Lum Wen was also warmly welcomed and entertained. During this period, she also met the grandmother of Romana Sommelier, and discussed a lot of issues about making spirit wine, which benefited a lot. Of course, the other party benefits more. After all, Lum Wen's grade is higher than hers. In the territory of the Roman family, Mo Yan took a few spirit pets to scavenge the relatively hidden and dangerous islands around him, and he really got a lot of high-level spirit herbs and spirit objects. These spirit grasses are very rare, and if they were to be auctioned in the human domain, they would definitely be robbed at high prices. After another 5 days, the Roman family and the Kija family were invited to set out on the road to the South Sea King City together. At the same time, at the junction of the North Sea and the South China Sea, a low-key and gorgeous flying instrument sailed into the South China Sea. Sitting in the best room in the flying instrument was a stern man with dark blue long hair wearing a dark patterned black coat. Behind him stood an ordinary-looking middle-aged man, with a ghostly shadow kneeling in front of him. "Has there been a result of what Ben Gong asked you to investigate?" the stern man asked lightly. The kneeling shadow spoke in a hoarse voice, "Report to the prince, my subordinates have found the news and whereabouts of Miss Lu." Only then did Yeching's cold and indifferent eyes waver. Where is she now? He was going to meet Lum Wen in Renai before, but before he was about to set off, he heard that she had gone to the secret realm of Kanglan. Who knew that not long ago, he got the news that she followed Mingxiu and jumped into the space storm crack. But he didn't believe that she would be killed. The bracelet she gave him carved out of soul-raising wood also had her soul power printed on it. As long as the soul power did not disappear, it would prove that she was alive. Lum Wen should be on his way to Nanhai King City now. The shadow took out a memory crystal ball and handed it respectfully to the young prince above. "This is a competition for sea berries in the Mundi Islands in the South China Sea not long ago. Miss Lu participated." Yeking Han took the crystal ball and looked at it from beginning to end. The indifference in his eyes was replaced by a rare gentle color, which surprised the kneeling subordinate. "It turns out that Yanner is going to South Sea King City," he whispered, then raised his head and instructed the shadow, "Speed up, and be sure to arrive at Sea King City a few days before the Starfish Feast." As ordered. After the half-kneeling shadow on the ground completely disappeared, Yeking Han looked out the window. His eyes were as deep as the vast stars outside at the moment. After a long time, his lips raised an arc, and he whispered, "Mu Yan, we can meet again soon. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 762. 10 days later, the flying instruments of the two families arrived at the South Sea King City. Only the palace where the royal family lives will be built in the deep sea, while the royal city is built on the vast sea, which is boundless at a glance. The entire South Sea King City is covered by a huge transparent mask, and the prosperity of the King City can be felt from a distance. The mask in the King City of the South Sea is a 10th rank formation. Lum Wen's eyes were full of shock. Her current formation level is only one step away from the 9th grade, so she can feel that the power that envelops the entire royal city is very huge, simple, and profound, and contains endless power. Whether it is attack or defense, it can be called abnormal. She dared to conclude that as long as the large formation starts its comprehensive defense, it is the combination of many powerhouses who have merged with heaven and human realm that can break through this formation. It's no wonder that the Sea Clan is the most mysterious race in the Guangling world. The formations arranged in this royal city are very mysterious. It seems that the C clan is definitely hiding a 10th grade array mage. Ming Xiu was on another flying instrument, and he looked at the formation of Sea King City with deep eyes, and the bottom of his eyes was a little hot. If such a formation can penetrate 1 or 2, it will be of great help to his understanding of the formation. The South China Sea is worthy of being the most powerful sea area, and this 10th grade defense formation alone is a super generous effort. Ming Xiu sighed. Lum Wan said through voice transmission, Lance's fox is really rich. Although such a large formation has only enabled the simplest defense function, the annual consumption of spiritual stones or energy is definitely a huge number. However, after such a formation was activated, the sea beasts did not dare to approach or attack at all, which also ensured the absolute safety of the South Sea King City. Immediately, a gleam appeared in her eyes, and she continued, if he is not so difficult to get along with, we can discuss with him whether we can comprehend this 10th grade formation. I feel that this formation is very perfect. The layout is very mysterious. Of course, they will not learn for nothing, and they will pay the price, but I don't know if the blue fox will allow it. Well, I have to give it a try when the time comes. Ming Xiu nodded, he was also very interested in this formation. Is there a 10th grade formation in human domain? Lum Wan asked curiously. Ming Xiu replied, there is a 10th grade formation in the forbidden area of the Imperial family of the underworld. I guess the formation alliance should also have a 10th grade formation, and other places are unknown. It seems that the mages in the human domain are not as strong as the Sea clan. Lum Wan sighed. There is only a rank 9 defensive formation outside the city of Zhongzhou in the human domain, and it is far worse than this one in terms of mysterious arrangement. This is only a royal capital with such a big hand. She believes that the surrounding of the Blue Fox's palace must also be a 10th rank formation. The Sea clan has a natural ability to get close to the formation, so the strongest formation mage in the 4 regions is in the sea. Ming Xiu said. So it is. Lum Wan heard what he said, and was full of expectations for this trip to the king city of the South China Sea. She and Ming Xiu's matchmaking method is from the bottom of her heart, and she doesn't want to miss any opportunity to learn from each other and improve. The flying instruments of the 2 families stopped at the edge of the king city, and the front was the shield of the formation. A team of soldiers from the Sea clan was guarding outside the city, and the Sea clan at the gate of the city came in and out one after another, but they needed to be checked before entering the royal city. On the land of the royal city, the use of flying instruments is not allowed, and flying is even prohibited in the city. Those who violate the rules will be severely punished. Who are you? A chief of guards asked indifferently, looking at the Roman family and the Kija family. The elders of the 2 families immediately took out a pass, and the chief guard checked them before releasing them. The edge of the formation is connected to the city, and one can only enter with a pass. After the group entered the city, Lum Wan found that the buildings here were very different from those in the human realm, and they gave people a soft and luxurious feeling everywhere. The streets are very broad, with shops lined up all around, and there are Sea clansmen in different clothes and services everywhere, bustling and bustling. In the South Sea King City, there are many sea beasts and monsters from the Tianyuan and Fusion realms who come and go in the city. They transform into human figures, but their facial features are different from those of the Sea clan. For example, there is an extra tattoo on the face or a few scales directly on the face, and there are rhino horns on the head. Our 2 families have no property in Wangcheng, so let's find a hotel to check in now, Elder Roman said. This time, the Roman family came to participate in the starfish banquet. It was high-level people. The family and several other elders would not arrive in 2 days. Many young disciples also followed. Mostly, the family wanted the younger generation of disciples to come to the capital to gain more knowledge, so as to encourage them to be competitive and cultivate more diligently. There was no objection from the 2 families, and the younger generation had basically never been to Wangcheng, and their eyes were full of curiosity. The Starfish Banquet is coming, so many hotels in the King City are full, and several large hotels in the central area have heard that the rooms have been booked 3 months ago. In the end, the two families found a hotel with a room in a slightly remote part of Wangcheng, which was just enough for the two families to live in. Although the price was twice as expensive as usual, the two elders still smiled and paid for the spirit stone. The common currency in the Guangling world is also the spirit stone. Lum Wen and Ming Xiu were placed in a separate room, and the other family disciples were basically 2 or 3 people in a room. After checking in, Lum Wen is very satisfied with the current hotel, which is quiet and remote. The next morning, Romania knocked on the door. Anything? Lum Wen opened the door and asked with a smile. Mu Yan, you haven't been to Nanhai King City yet. Romania still smiled shyly and said, how about we go shopping together? Okay, the Sea Clan's many spirit grasses and spar are very good for alchemy and weapon refining, but there is no human domain at all. She was able to infiltrate the South Sea King City this time just to collect more. Usually, as a human being, if you don't have a pass order, you can't enter the royal city. She is more fortunate that she met the Roman family and participated in the competition of robbing sea berries. The relationship between the Roman family and the Kija family is very good, so the younger disciples of the two families get along very well in private, and Ming Xiu was also invited to visit the royal city together. After leaving the inn, they Hua Lingxi took the carriage in the royal city and drove towards the central street. Flying instruments and flying in the sky are not allowed in the royal city, and the entire royal city is very large. If you want to be in a hurry, you usually choose to take a shared carriage that can be rented. There are dedicated lanes that are very fast. Lum Wen found that such a royal carriage alone can make a lot of money every year, and if he settled in the royal city, the cost would be even more terrifyingly expensive. It is no wonder that the Nanhai Royal Court can cover the entire royal city with a 10th grade formation. It seems that she should extort more with the blue fox, and the spirit grass and spirits needed to go to the battlefield outside the territory must be very large. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 763. The central street of Nanhai King City is very large, and there are many shops selling spirit herbs, medicinal herbs, talismans, arrays, and refining materials. Romandi, do you know which shops are the most important and powerful in the Sea King City? Lum Wen looked at the row upon row of shops on the bustling street and it was difficult to choose. Romanti thought for a while and smiled and said, as far as I know, the shops under the Royal Chamber of Commerce are the most powerful ones in Neptune City, and they are classified into a wide variety of categories. In addition to the shops under the Royal Chamber of Commerce, the shops under the Dongta Chamber of Commerce are also relatively strong. Romanti said, if neither of them can buy anything, the others basically don't have it. Of course, except if you want to buy things, he added. Lum Wen smiled and said, then let's go to see both of them together. The things she wants to collect are relatively advanced, and those small shops usually don't have them. Mo Yan, you can see if there are any good things, maybe we can find 1 or 2. She thought about it for a while and then sent a sound transmission to Mo Yan. Mo Yan's sensitivity to spiritual things, spirit grass, etc., is not comparable to even a strong person who integrates the heaven and human realm. Okay, it was the first time Mo Yan came to the Sea Clan's territory, and there was a little more interest in his dull eyes. Bingji and several other spirit pets couldn't wait to come out for a stroll. After taking the breath-holding pill of Muan downstairs, the aura they exuded was undoubtedly the Sea Clan. Long Yao had already returned when he entered the South Sea King City, and at this time he also turned into a cold and handsome man standing with a few spiritual pets. The people of the two families pretended to turn a blind eye to the few extra monsters, and Romania and Bingji were able to chat quite a bit along the way. Mu Yan, that's the shop of the Dongta Chamber of Commerce, Romandi said, pointing to a 5-story store ahead. Well, let's go in and have a look. The shop of the Dongta Chamber of Commerce is very large and very lively. Many groups of sea clans come in and out, and they don't look like ordinary identities. After the group entered the shop, a waiter immediately greeted them. Young master, what do you want to buy, ladies? Show me the list of high-end items in your store, Lum Wan said with a light smile. What kind of things do you want to buy, miss? The waiter didn't know what kind of things to buy when she heard her words. Lum Wan waved his hand indifferently, except for medicinal herbs, as long as it is a high-level spiritual herb or material for formation, talisman, and refining, show me. The waiter was stunned for a moment, then immediately took them to the private room on the 3rd floor with a smile, and brought up a few lists. Lum Wan swept it again and found that there are quite a few high-level spirit grasses, even the 8th-level spirit grasses are sold directly. It seems that the strength of the Sea clan is indeed much stronger than that of the human clan. She circled all the things she needed. How many of these things I want? Okay lady, the waiter is still more attentive. Among the group, he could see that the lady of the big customer and the man in black had the most temperament. Lum Wan thought for a while and asked, do you have 9th grade spirit herbs and materials for sale here? The waiter looked a little embarrassed. This. Lum Wan directly took out a high-grade spirit stone and threw it. If there is one, I will have it. The waiter took the top-grade lingxi and said with a wide-eyed smile, miss, please wait a moment, and the little one will go and talk to the shopkeeper. Kindness. After the waiter walked out of the private room, Roman and the young disciples of the Kija family couldn't help but cast their eyes on Lum Wan curiously. Wan, why do you buy so many things? Romania's mind is relatively simple, and he definitely wants these things that Lum Wan wants is definitely a huge amount of spiritual stones. And the tip is a top-grade spirit stone, which is really generous. Lum Wan smiled indifferently. These high-level things are only easy to buy in places like Wangcheng, and I will always use them in the future. She can also see that Romania and the others think she is too generous, but she can only be rewarded by giving appropriate benefits. She has a lot of spirit stones now, and she doesn't care about them at all, as long as she can buy what she wants. The group twitched the corners of their mouths when they heard what she said. Will they buy so much in the future? It's so extravagant. However, from this point of view, the young disciples of the two families all guessed that Lum Wan's identity must be extraordinary, and if they bought one or two casually, they would not be able to get so many spiritual stones. Soon the waiter accompanied a steward to the private room. After some discussion, he sold a 9th grade spirit grass to Lum Wan. Of course, the price is also very expensive. In the end, Lum Wan spent hundreds of millions of low-grade spirit stones in the Dongta Chamber of Commerce's store, and the group was stunned. After they left the Chamber of Commerce, the smile on the steward's face subsided a bit, and he instructed the waiter who held out his hand, go and check the identity of the lady who bought things just now. Yes. After leaving the Dongta Chamber of Commerce's store, Lum Wan said, let's go to the Royal Chamber of Commerce now. Except for Mingxiu, everyone in the group stared wide-eyed, with an expression like you still want to buy it? Cough cough. Romandi asked tentatively with a light cough, Mu Yan, do you still want to buy something? Lum Wan blinked his eyes and said, yeah. I still lack a lot of things. The group was completely speechless again, everyone was short of the things she bought. However, they are still relatively happy to be able to accompany Lum Wan to be a big money maker. Romandi and Kajaz had been to the royal city before, so they soon took Lum Wan to the store of the Royal Chamber of Commerce. The shop of the Royal Chamber of Commerce is located in the most prosperous central street of Wangcheng. It is an iconic golden tower building that can be seen at a glance. Both sides of the tower building are full of shops, but the things sold by these shops are below the 8th rank, and the treasures and rare things are all in the central shop of the Golden Pagoda. There are many people entering the shops on both sides of the royal family, but not many people entering the central Golden Pagoda, even very few. Neither Roman nor the Kija family had ever set foot in the Royal Chamber of Commerce. After the group walked into the door of the central shop of the Golden Pagoda, a steward of the Tianyuanjing realm and 2 waiters who were cultivated in the Danyuanjing realm greeted them. The steward's attitude was neither humble nor arrogant. He looked at the group with a light smile and asked, "What do you want to buy?" "Let's take a look and buy if we find something suitable," Lum Wan said. The steward's expression did not change. He said with a smile, "Miss, there is a rule for entering our royal central store, and everyone needs to abide by it." There was no disdain or contempt in his attitude and expression, just a fact. Lum Wan chuckled lightly, "What are the rules?" "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 764. Lum Wan's question was also curious about the others present. "People who enter the central store must have a certain amount of wealth to enter." The steward paused and said, "As long as you can come up with 500 million low-grade spirit stones, you are eligible to enter." The 500 million low-grade spirit stones in his words are actually just the qualifications for entry. As the Chamber of Commerce of the South Sea royal family, they have the strength and strong background to set such rules. If anyone dares to provoke the rules, the consequences will be very serious. Of course, those who can't get the entry-level spirit stones will let them go to the shops on both sides to see each other, and they won't do rude things. After all, 500 million spirit stones are not a small number, and people who can take them out not a lot. The steward's words made the group sluggish for a while. The 500 million low-grade spirit stones were not a small sum. Even the elders of the fusion of their 2 races would be very painful to take them out. Lum Wan's eyes filled with interest when she heard the steward's words. Since the other party would set such a rule, the value of the things in the central store must be very precious. She took out a space ring and handed it to the steward. "Can you check it?" The steward took the space ring and swept it with surprise in his eyes. He handed the ring back with a smile, and said politely, "Miss meets the requirements for entering the Royal Central Store, please invite me." Lum Wan and Ming Xiu walked into the shop without changing their expressions, while the others were restrained and excited. The hall on the first floor of the shop is full of magical instruments arranged in a restricted aperture, and Lum Wan and Ming Xiu's eyes can still tell the grade and quality of these instruments. The strength of the Royal Chamber of Commerce is really strong. The magic tools on the first floor are all low-grade magic weapons, and there are even a few low-grade artifacts, Lum Wan and Ming Xiu said through sound transmission. Ming Xiu raised an arc on his lips. "Does Yanner want to buy a magic weapon?" "You can buy some to arm the Mufeng mercenary group," Lum Wan said with a smile. "The energy of the 2 of us will be spent on the battlefield in the outer domain, and there is no time to refine the magic tools for them, so buy some refining tools." "Good and good. The most important thing is that we are not short of money now," she added. Ming Xiu said with a smile, "That's right, you can buy more of the things that you can buy with spirit stones now. After you arrive on the battlefield outside the realm, apart from high-grade and top-grade spirit stones, low-grade and middle-grade spirit stones are basically useless." "Well, so we can spend both low-grade and middle-grade spirit stones in the Sea Clan and exchange them for items," Lum Wan agreed. "The low-grade and middle-grade spirit stones now not only do not touch the Red Emperor, but even the Red Bee Swarm dislikes them." "Did you like anything, miss?" the steward asked with a smile when he saw her looking around. Lum Wan casually pointed to more than 20 magic weapons that were made relatively well and said, "I want all of them." The steward was a little surprised, but his face did not show. "Okay. Are there any rules and regulations for going upstairs?" Lum Wan looked at the steward with a half smile and asked. The steward said with a low smile, with 500 million spirit stones, you can choose the 5th grade on the 1st and 2nd floors, 1 billion spirit stones can go up to the 3rd and 4th floors, and 2 billion can go up to the 5th floor. Judging from the space ring given by the lady just now, you can still go to the 2nd floor to choose something. He paused and added. Well, let's go then, Lum Wan said casually. After the group went to the 2nd floor, they found several waves of people choosing items, and those people also swept their eyes to them. The people who can go to the 2nd floor are generally disciples of big families with money and power. When they saw Lum Wan and his party, they were surprised. After all, some young disciples of the Roman and Kija family looked a little restrained, and they didn't seem to be able to affordable. Lum Wan and Ming Xiu swept around the 2nd floor. There were many finished products of high-level medicinal pills and talismans, and there were also several lists of materials. The two of them were not interested in the finished products of medicinal pills and talismans, so they took the material list and scanned it. I want all the things I've circled. I want as many as I want. Lum Wan's arrogance instantly attracted the attention of several waves of people around. The steward was also a little surprised. He had rarely encountered such a high-spirited customer, but judging from the 1 billion spirit stones in her space ring, he could almost buy all these things. Okay, miss, I'll tell someone to prepare now. The steward immediately asked a waiter behind him to prepare. Then they went to the 3rd and 4th floors. There were still people on these 2 floors, and they were dressed in extraordinary temperament. Looking around on the 3rd and 4th floors, Lum Wan ordered all the things he wanted. I want all of them, and I want as many as I want. Okay, I'll order people to prepare. The steward asked another waiter to prepare. After choosing the things on the 3rd and 4th floors, Lum Wan was more curious and interested in the 5th floor and above. She was moved. A space ring appeared in her hand. She handed it to the steward and said, I want to go to the 5th floor. The steward took the ring and swept it over. It contained 2 billion low-grade spirit stones. His calm face changed slightly from the beginning, and he was shocked. This little girl is too rich. Miss is qualified to go to the 5th floor, please. The steward's attitude was a little more polite. At this time, he had already regarded Lum Wan as a big customer, and guessed that her identity must not be simple, otherwise it would be impossible to take out so many spiritual stones. Seeing Lum Wan's arrogance, the people of the 2 families were shocked in their hearts. They didn't expect her to be so rich. The most important thing is that Lum Wan is not only rich but also very prodigal. She didn't care. She reached out her hand to randomly point out the spirit stones like running water, and they were stunned and deeply distressed. Not only the disciples of the 2 families, but also the few waves of people on the 3rd and 4th floors who were slowly picking and looking at things were frightened by her prodigal. When their figures disappeared on the 4th floor, someone whispered, "What is the origin of that woman? Such a handwriting is too big." Yeah. And looking at her casual look, it's like a spiritual stone that doesn't care about the flowers at all. "Will she be swollen and fat?" said one person jealously. Others looked at him like, "You were an idiot. If she doesn't have the ability to buy, do you think the steward will tell the waiter to prepare?" Yeah. She has already gone up to the 5th floor, but it takes 2 billion low-grade spirit stones to be eligible to go up. She looks stunning. I don't know if it's a prodigal woman from that family. Ordinary people can't afford such a big hand like her. Recently, there are a lot of unfamiliar faces in the royal city, but they are all very rich. It really compares our local families. One person sighed helplessly. The starfish banquet this time is bigger than the previous one. All the big and small families from all over the South China Sea came over. I heard that the royal families from the other 3 sea areas also came to participate. The person just now might be a noble from other sea areas. So that's the case, then we'd better be more cautious in what we've been doing recently. If you offend the guests invited by the king, the family will definitely not give them good fruit to eat. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 765. The items on the 5th floor of the Nanhai Royal Family Central Shop are all treasures, and it requires 2 billion to go up and choose, and that is also because buying any item requires a billion of low-grade spirit stones. The items on the 5th floor of the Nanhai Royal Family Central Shop are all treasures, and it requires 2 billion to be able to select the low-grade spirit stones. It is also because buying any item will cost more than 500 million low-grade spirit stones. When Lum Wen and others went up to the 5th floor, they found that there were still 2 waves of people standing in the hall. One of the group's hair or eyes is blue, which means that they may be the royal family of one of the 4 domains. The other wave of people's faces have some characteristics of sea beasts, and they are demon cultivators in the transformation period. Their arrival also attracted the attention of 2 waves of people. After all, those who can go to the 5th floor are not ordinary people. Miss Lu, these are the treasures on the 5th floor, you can take a look. The steward introduced some of the more precious treasures to Lum Wen very politely. Lum Wen took a look at them one by one, pointed to the 2 spiritual objects and 3 middle-grade artifacts, and said, "I want these." Both her second brother and Wu Nuan can use the middle-grade artifacts. In the human realm, they can only be auctioned at auctions. It is rare to sell them directly at the price. Moreover, the quality of the 3 artifacts is good and suitable for 2 people. The smile on the steward's face was even bigger. "Okay, do you want to look at the medicinal herbs and talismans? We also have several kinds of 9th-grade medicinal herbs and talismans in our possession, all of which are refined by 9th-grade intermediate-level magicians." System. He had previously discovered that Lum Wen was not interested in the finished products of medicinal pills and talismans. He guessed that she might not be interested in products below the 9th rank. "No, I'm not very interested in finished medicines and talismans," Lum Wen smiled. She is a 9th rank alchemist herself, and Fuzwan is about to enter the 9th rank, so she really has no interest in the 9th grade medicinal herbs and talismans outside. Moreover, the quality and function of the 9th grade medicinal herbs and talismans sold to the outside world are not very good, and the truly powerful ones will be put up at the auction. "Is there anything else to watch, miss?" The steward was not reluctant. "Let me take a look at the spiritual herbs and materials you treasure. This is what she needs most." The steward took them to another hall on the 5th floor. There were many slots on the walls of the hall, and white lights flickered inside. Lum Wen approached and found that these white light groups were all forbidden by the 9th grade, and there was a jade slip in each slot. Lum Wen picked up the jade slip and looked at it, and then said to the steward, "The 3rd, 5th, 8th, all of them." The steward smiled and nodded, "I'll prepare it for miss." In his heart, there was an incomparable difference in her financial resources. The few things she wanted would cost more than 3 billion spirit stones. Just as his voice fell, a young voice fell. "Hold on." Lum Wen and the others looked over and saw the blue-haired royal family walking over, while the demon cultivators looked at them with interest. "Is something wrong?" Lum Wen asked the man who spoke lightly. The man glanced arrogantly at Lum Wen and said, "We have already taken a fancy to the 3rd and 8th items, you can choose another one." There was a tone of command in his tone, and there was a hint of cold light in Ming Xiu's eyes. Lum Wen didn't answer him immediately, but turned to look at the steward and asked, "The rule here is that what I said is not allowed if others like it." The steward did not expect that she would throw the spear at him, and said with a wry smile, "There is no such rule." Lum Wen raised her eyebrows at the young man, "This is the answer I gave you." "You?" The man looked a little annoyed, "Do you know who we are?" "I don't know," Lum Wen said, "I'm not interested in knowing either." "Does she have a face that looks like a bully?" The man snorted coldly and turned to look at a woman in a golden dress behind him. The woman's expression was light, but the unhappiness in her eyes was still evident. Upon seeing this, The man immediately instructed the steward who brought them up, "Our princess has taken a fancy to the third and eighth items." His tone still carried an arrogant sense of superiority, especially when he spoke of their princess. His tone was very proud. The steward was also very helpless. Before, this group of people didn't say that they wanted items number 3 and number 8, and now others saw them and wanted to grab them. The most important thing is that it is impossible to be an ordinary C-clan when looking at the other party's lavish spending. However, he was assigned to take care of this group of people, and because the other party was the second princess who was favored by the king of the West Sea, it was not easy to offend him immediately, so he smiled and said to Lum Wan, "Miss, they were really optimistic about these two things before, just because I didn't mark it down immediately when I went to see other things. Can you make it easier?" Seeing Lum Wan's uneasy expression, he immediately added, "Of course, if the young lady can give up her love, I can give you 20 million lower quality spirit stones for the privilege." This is already his bottom line as a steward, and 20 million spirit stones will not refuse. The most important thing is that the second princess of Zihai is notoriously perverted and domineering. He guessed that the other party should take the initiative to step back after knowing the identity of the second princess and his party. He just gave them the steps. Lum Wan chuckled lightly, her face showing a bit of coldness. She raised her eyebrows and asked, "Do you think this young lady is someone who lacks 20 million spirit stones? It looks like I am poor and only have a spirit stone left." The steward twitched the corners of his mouth, and encountered some difficult people today. "I know that the young lady is not short of money, but this thing is indeed the second princess and the others." His tone became a little more serious when he said second princess. Lum Wan said indifferently, "I don't know what princesses are. I only know that since these two things are still here and have not been sold, I have the right to buy them." "You called your chief steward when you were talking. I have never heard of such domineering rules," she added forcefully. When she saw the helplessness in the steward's eyes, she knew that the second son and her son-in-law had never told the steward that they wanted these two things before, and they were completely looking for trouble. The most important thing is that one of these two things is useful to her eldest brother's killing body, and the other is useful to Mo Yan. Even if the king of the West Sea comes, she can't just give in like this. Make trouble, she doesn't care if it gets bigger. Isn't she a favored second princess from the West Sea, and she's not from the Sea clan, so would she still be afraid of her? What's more, this is the South China Sea. This. The steward didn't know what to say for a moment. He turned his attention to the steward beside Lum Wan. That person gave him an expression of you asking for more happiness. His guest was not wrong, and the other party was unreasonable. "Miss, our rule here is that whoever speaks first and pays for the spiritual stone will be the one." The steward who brought Lum Wan upstairs thought for a while and said. The attitude of his maintenance is obvious. The Nanhai Royal Chamber of Commerce is not afraid of offending the Princess of Zihai. The woman in golden clothes then took a step forward with cold eyes, looked at Lum Wan indifferently and asked, "Where did you come from?" "Very arrogant." "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 766. Faced with the strong aura of the golden-clothed woman who unleashed her merging cultivation in the first realm, Lum Wan's expression was as indifferent as before, and the breath that was trapped in her body overflowed a little, but instead faintly suppressed the opponent. "Who I am has nothing to do with you," she said lightly, "just like who you are has nothing to do with me. You're not from the Sea clan, are you?" The woman in golden clothes narrowed her eyes and said sharply. After hearing her words, the three stewards and other Sea clan present were stunned for a while, and their gazes on Lum Wan became more probing. "Can the trick you want to try be more childish?" Lum Wan raised her eyebrows. "You are idle and bored, but my time is precious, I won't let things go, do what you like. This second princess is rumored to be the favored daughter of the king of the West Sea. In addition to her talent in cultivation, she is usually arrogant and domineering, and many people secretly think she is an idiot. But Lu Muan only had such a short contact with the other party. She found that the other party was not as unbearable as the rumors said. Instead, it was hidden very deeply, and her scheming was not weak at all, and she had nothing to do with idiots. But there is one thing she agrees with very much. This second princess is very annoying. This kind of hatred and dislike for Lan Ruoshui's cold temperament are two different feelings. She intuition that this woman is similar to the two women of the demon race, and will inevitably become a hostile relationship with her in the future, so she is too lazy to give each other face, because no matter what, there will be a day when her face will be torn apart. She has always trusted her own feelings very much. Het. The golden-robed woman chuckled softly, but her voice contained endless coldness. Do you want to know what will happen if you offend the people of this palace? I'm not interested in knowing, Lu Muan said casually. What method are you going to use to let the horse come over directly? I really don't like being threatened. There was a layer of frost in the eyes of the woman in golden clothes. It was the first time she had encountered such an unreasonable person, but the person who once dared to oppose her like this is now worse than death. You are really good. The golden-robed woman's eyes were sullen with a bit of anger. Ben Gong will let you know the fate of offending my Zihai royal family. This is the site of the Nanhai royal family chamber of commerce. It is forbidden for everyone to fight, including the royal family in the South China Sea. They are not allowed to violate the rules, otherwise they will be punished the most severely. She can be arrogant and unrestrained in the West Sea, but she is very afraid of the king of the South Sea, who is a person whose cultivation is unfathomable. His face is as gentle as jade, but he is actually domineering and ruthless. Making trouble on the opponent's territory, even if she is the favored second princess in the West Sea, it is still impossible for her to escape the punishment of the South China Sea law enforcement team. There was once a strong man who merged with the upper realm in the Royal Chamber of Commerce, and his background was still very strong, but unfortunately, he happened to meet Lancy. She knew that the man was directly slapped to death by Lance. Not only did the family behind him not have any dissatisfaction, but the patriarch himself sent a lot of treasures to make amends. The second princess guessed that Lu Muan dared to be so arrogant to her because she knew this, because as long as she was in the Nanhai Royal Chamber of Commerce, she could not do anything about her for the time being. But it doesn't matter. Although she is violent, she is very patient, otherwise she would not be alive today. As long as this woman steps out of the protection range of the law enforcement team in the city, she must take her back and torture her to death. Lu Muan roughly knew what the other party was thinking when she saw the fierce look in the other party's eyes. But she didn't take it seriously. There were many people who wanted her to die, and there was no shortage of such a person. Ming Xiu's phoenix eyes were stained with killing intent. If the timing wasn't right, he would definitely kill the second princess. But in his heart, he also regarded the other party as a dead person. As long as he left the Nanhai King City, he had a way to make this woman never go back to the West Sea if there was an accident. Lu Muan and Ming Xiu exchanged glances, and just as they were about to answer, a cold voice sounded. I don't know what will happen to my Bihai people if they offend the Zihai royal family. Immediately, everyone saw a man in black with dark patterns and a handsome appearance walking in. He is tall, with dark blue hair tied up with a jade crown, but his eyes are as dark and deep as obsidian. Lu Muan was stunned when she saw the person coming, and then a rare look of joy appeared in her eyes. Cool. Yeching's cold and indifferent face was restrained, and a warm color appeared in the dark and boundless eyes. Mu Yan. Long Yao saw that his master had been taken one step ahead by others to save the beauty before he could take action. He gloated to Ming Xiu and said, your rival in love is not simple, you are careful to be dug into the corner by him. Ming Xiu glanced at him lightly. You think too much. He always knew that Ye Qinghan was different in Lum Weian's heart, but she didn't choose Ye Qinghan back then, but she finally chose him, indicating that the person she liked was him. Then as long as he didn't betray her, she also wouldn't betray and give up on him. He believes in the woman he loves. In all fairness, he still appreciates Ye Qinghan, just like Mo Yan. He didn't want to restrict Lum Weian's friendship because of jealousy. He would give her the most free space, just ask for a little. Her body and mind belong to him. All because he loves her too much, and because of love, he trusts each other unconditionally. When the second princess saw the owner of the voice, she was obviously stunned. She restrained a lot of her previous hostility and said with a light smile, "It turns out that it is His Royal Highness the Prince of Bihai." When Ye Qinghan looked at the second princess, the warm color in her eyes faded, and there was only a coldness. The second princess's hand is too long. There is a warning hidden in this sentence. The second princess swept the floor and Weian, feeling unhappy in her heart, but her face did not show. Since she is a member of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, then this palace will not care about it today. Immediately, she changed her words and said coldly, "But next time, I will be more than welcome." Her meaning is obvious. Next time we meet she won't be like that. "I will accompany you to the end at any time," Lum Weian replied indifferently, with an extremely arrogant and casual attitude. Who wouldn't say harsh words? Even if she didn't use Ye Qinghan's power, she was not afraid of this princess. She always has a very keen instinct, and soon she will conflict with this woman. "Humph, I hope you can laugh in the future," the second princess sneered and left here with her. However, the killing intent towards Lum Weian grew stronger in his heart. The reason why she asked her men to snatch each other's things was not because she really liked the two spirits, but because she found out that this woman had actually robbed her of a man who had used various means to force her to get married. Somewhat similar. This is intolerable to her. She doesn't want other women to look like the man she likes, absolutely not. You go and find out the identity of this woman and her relationship with Lanzi. The second princess instructed a man behind him who had a mysterious presence and a low sense of presence after walking out of the Royal Central Store. "Yes, Your Royal Highness. My evil Imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 767. After the second princess left with her, Ye Qinghan whispered to the air behind her. "You go and follow the second princess of the West Sea. If she has any special movements, she will come back and report." "Yes, Your Highness." Immediately, everyone saw a translucent black shadow appear and instantly disappear in the hall on the 5th floor. "Mu Yan, Ming Xiu, let's find a place to talk." Ye Qinghan looked at the two of them gently and said. He no longer had any hostility towards Ming Xiu. Although he still loved Lum Weian in his heart, he was not ready to rob her or hurt her. He just wanted to take good care of her. The reason why Ming Xiu never stopped Ye Qinghan from contacting Lum Weian was because he knew roughly what the other party was thinking. He couldn't sympathize with such a rival, because Ye Qinghan didn't need it, but he admired it. "Okay," Lum Weian nodded, and then said to Romania and the others, "I still have something to do, you can go back by yourself, don't wait for me." "Okay, pay attention to safety." Romanti and others were shocked that Lum Weian and His Royal Highness Prince Bihai were friends. But thinking that she spent so many spirit stones without blinking her eyes, she felt it was right, and guessed that she might be the young lady of a big family in Bihai. After the steward sent all the things Lum Weian wanted to clear the spirit stone, he smiled and handed a gilt invitation to her. "Miss Lu, there will be a large-scale top auction in our Chamber of Commerce in 3 days. You can come and have a look." Lum Weian took the invitation and asked with a half-smile, "Will the auction items be disappointing?" "No, before each starfish banquet, our Nanhai Royal Chamber of Commerce will hold a large-scale top-level auction. All the auction items are treasures that we have collected for many years, the steward said with a smile. I heard that this time there are 2 more. This spiritual item has reached the god level, and it will definitely not disappoint you. Immediately, he looked at Ye King Han and said respectfully, the invitation from His Royal Highness Prince Bihai must be sent to the post house by the high-level officials of the Chamber of Commerce, so I won't do anything unnecessary here. Ye King Han nodded lightly to indicate that he understood. Okay, we'll be there when the time comes. Lu Muan thought about it and asked, do I need an invitation to participate in the auction? Yes, the steward thought that Lu Muan came with the Roman family. Our Chamber of Commerce will send invitations to all the families who came to the Starfish banquet this time, but the level of the posts is different. Miss Lu's guild post can have a separate private room, he added. Okay, then thank you in charge. Miss Lu, you're welcome, walk slowly. After leaving the Nanhai Royal Family Central Store, Ye King Han brought Lu Muan and Ming Xiu to his post house in Wangcheng. After entering the room, he took out a ready-made array to activate it to prevent others from listening. After sitting down, Ye King Han took out a can of top-quality spirit tea from the space ring, brewed a pot, and poured a cup for each of them. This is a special spirit tea from the West Sea, you can try it. Lu Muan saw that Ye King Han was very familiar with brewing spirit tea with flowing water. After pouring it into the cup, the fragrance of the tea overflowed. She picked up the teacup, the golden clear tea soup fainted, took a sip, and her eyes lit up instantly. King Han, your tea-making skills have improved a lot. I'm not as good as you. Lu Muan chuckled, this tea tastes good. Good tea. Ming Xiu took a sip. As long as you like it. Ye Qing Leng Jun's face showed a bit of a smile. Mu Yan, why did you come to the sea? Something happened to us in the Kanglan secret realm in the human territory, and we were accidentally caught in the crack of the space storm and fell into the sea. Then Lu Muan briefly explained to Ye King Han what happened in the secret realm of Kanglan and after falling into the South China Sea. For Ye King Han, Lu Muan trusts very much. Even if he is now the Prince of Bihai, she knows that he may no longer be the original Ye King Han in other respects. But Ye King Han in front of her was always the person she met at the Jiwo Mountains for the first time. So it is after hearing Lu Muan's words, Ye Qing's cold and indifferent heart swelled with ripples. He was very happy with her trust. King Han, how did you recognize Ming Xiu? Lu Muan blinked and asked. She was actually quite confident in her changing Yan Dan, but Ye King Han didn't expect Ye King Han to recognize Ming Xiu, who had an inconspicuous face at this time. Ye King Han smiled lightly, with bitterness in the bottom of his eyes, which was well concealed. Eyes and temperament. Eyes, Lu Muan asked in surprise. Ming Xiu's aura was very strong. Even if he stood there disguised as a man with an ordinary face, it was still hard to ignore his existence, but she found that his eyes were well hidden. The eye contact between you from time to time is very tacit, Ye King Han said. You can only show such a look when you are a cultivator. Trust and dependence, with a look of love, Lu Muan will only reveal it in front of Ming Xiu. Ming Xiu dresses up very well, but he doesn't hide his affection for you from time to time, he continued with hooked lips. The bitterness in their hearts has melted a bit. The two people trusted each other before they experienced life and death. Now that they can live and die for each other, it is difficult for anyone in this generation to separate them. Lu Muan and Ming Xiu looked at each other and smiled tacitly. Your eyes are really vicious, Ming Xiu smiled. Ye King Han raised his eyebrows. When are you going to get married? I'll prepare a big gift at that time. It's still early, Lu Muan said with a chuckle. My father and grandfather haven't ascended yet. We're going to get married after they come. And the outer territory battlefield is about to open. Our current thoughts are on improving the strength of our cultivation base, she added. Ye King Han nodded. That's right, there are countless geniuses from the younger generation of the Guangling Jifor clans who die every year on the battlefield in the outer domain. We have to be more cautious. With his talent and identity, it is a sure thing to be introduced to the outland battlefield. This is a linking ring I made. When we are introduced to the outer domain battlefield, we will be able to find each other's positions. Ming Xiu handed a pale golden ring to Yexing. After entering the outer domain battlefield, you have been just where it. Lum Wen will follow the people he values, and he can't ignore the personality charm of Yeking Han, a rival in love. Since the other party has deeply hidden his thoughts towards Lum Wen, he will not care about it carefully. Although he and Yeking Han were once rivals in love, they were more like friends. In the Outland battlefield, he hoped that everyone would work together to survive. Thank you, Yeking Han took the golden ring and played with it. He prepared a lot for the outer territory battlefield, including meeting with Lum Wen and others. Several people chatted for a long time, before Lum Wen and Ming Xiu left together. Young master, have you given up Miss Lu completely? Wen Liang walked into the room and asked after the two left. Yeking Han picked up the teacup and shook it, his lips curved upwards. He was very happy that the tea art he had learned for so long could be praised and liked by her. Well, she just has the same feelings for me as her family. The smile on his face narrowed. I don't want to lose this feeling in the end. Wen Liang sighed and stopped talking. 3 days later, Lum Wen and Ming Xiu went to the auction held by the Nanhai Royal Chamber of Commerce together with the Roman and Kea families. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 768. The Roman and Kija family received an invitation letter from the Nanhai Royal Family Chamber of Commerce a day ago. However, the invitation is silver, and the seat is only the location of the hall. The auction was held in a hall behind the central store with 3,000 seats below, and the second and third floors were all private rooms. Lum Wen held a gilded invitation card and was placed in the private room on the second floor. She took the two families directly to the private room and let the two families use it, otherwise it would be a waste. Roman and the Kija family were flattered by using the private room on the second floor, and kept thanking Lum Wen. The people who participated in the auction this time were all from the big families and forces of the South China Sea clan, and many people from other sea areas also came, and their identities were not low. Yeking Han was the most honored prince in Bihai, and his private room was on the third floor. Lum Wen believed that she was the fake identity of the Bihai Hai clan. Many forces in the South China Sea had already gone to investigate, so she went directly to Yeking Han's private room without avoiding it. After entering the private room, Lum Wen saw that Yeking Han was the only one inside. She smiled and said, "You are the only one in Bihai." She saw that a lot of people from the Sea clan from other sea areas came, and many of them were from the royal family. "Take trouble with those people," Yeking Han said indifferently. Those brothers and sisters didn't have a good relationship with him. As soon as he returned to the Guangling world, he took up the position of the prince. They all wished him to die, and he naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to put hidden dangers by his side. In fact, if it weren't for the identity of the Prince of Bihai, it would be convenient for him to do some things. They didn't make trouble. Lum Wen raised her eyebrows after sitting down. Yeking Han, the prince who came from behind, occupies everyone's interests, and his life should not be peaceful. In the beginning, there was trouble, and some people went to the dark market to announce the task of killing me. Yeking Han shrugged, but before I could take action, the old man killed him, exiled him, and the rest of his heart was, "You have to endure it if you hate me to death." But because of this, he has more time to cultivate, otherwise he would have to spend energy to deal with those people. "Your father is pretty good to you," Lum Wen said pertinently. Being able to do this for Yeking Han shows that he is really the most beloved and valued son of the king of the North Sea. Yeking Han pursed his lips, his eyes were a little complicated, and he smiled a little more. "He is really kind to me." His mother was the queen of Bihai, and she was the woman the king of Bihai really liked. Both of them doted on him very much, and tried their best to make up for the fact that they had left him in the heavenly spirit continent. He didn't hate the two of them, but he didn't have the kind of feeling that was very close to each other. After all, he was in his 20s in Tianling continent, and the two were missing in those most important times. Of course, he can feel the love and compensation for the two, and he is also working hard to integrate himself into the life of the high people and get along well with his biological parents. You came out without a bodyguard. Lu Muan found out that Ye Qinghan had only brought one subordinate before he appeared, and now there is only one person. Will the king of the North Sea be at ease when traveling like this? I let the shadows guard outside the Chamber of Commerce, and there are a few others left in the inn. Ye Qinghan didn't want the matter of himself and Lu Muan to be passed into his father's heirs. With his father's temperament, he might invite Lu Muan to be high and let him dig the corner of Mingxiu. Qinghan, do you know what's in today's auction? Lu Muan asked after chatting for a while. Ye Qinghan took out a jade slip and handed it to her. This is the auction item, but there is no news about the final item. Lu Muan took the jade slip and looked at it again, and handed it to Mingxiu. See if there is anything you want. There are many things in it that human domain doesn't have. If it weren't for the identity of the Bihai Sea clan, it would be impossible for the human race in their human territory to participate in such a large-scale top auction of the Sea clan. This is a very good opportunity. It is true to buy more and go back. Mingxiu read it again and smiled. Everything is good, and more than 1/3 of the things are useful to us. Then let's shoot it. Lu Muan was not afraid to grab the auction items and be missed or hated by other big forces and powerhouses. Anyway, she will pat her butt and leave soon. Qinghan, if we auction off a lot of the auction items, will it affect you? Lu Muan asked after thinking for a while. It would be bad for Qinghan to have a grudge against the big forces in the South China Sea, then she could only stop in moderation. It's all right, they don't have the heart to attack me. Ye Qinghan gave Lu Muan a look that you can do. What's more, you were photographed by a spirit stone, and the robbing was open and above board. They can do it themselves. If you grab it, if you dare to touch me, the old man will give them good fruit to eat without me going out. Although he didn't want to rely on the old man insisted on clearing all obstacles for him. Those who offended him would soon be severely punished and revenge. He could only accept it helplessly, but his heart was warm. Well, it's good to have a backer, Lu Muan joked. With the great backing of the king of the North Sea, Ye Qinghan can walk sideways in the sea. Ye Qinghan gave her a funny look. My backer is also your backer, so do it with confidence. Then he took out the spirit tea and brewed it. When the time is up, the auction will officially begin. An old man in golden clothes with light blue long hair walked to the auction table. I believe that many of the friends here know the old man. He smiled and said, this old man is the vice chairman of the Royal Chamber of Commerce, and I will preside over this auction. After his words fell, many people were extremely surprised. Obviously, they did not expect that the vice president would personally preside over the auction this time. After all, it used to be a special auctioneer. In my heart, I have a lot of expectations for this auction. If this auction can be personally supported, the items to be auctioned below will be extraordinary. Okay, the old man will stop talking too much, let's go directly to the auction. After he finished speaking, an auction booth at the back opened automatically, an item rose from the ground, and a soft light fell straight down. This is a high-grade artifact, suitable for fire-type sword masters. His words were very simple, but he could point out the best advantages of the auction items, which quickly brought the atmosphere of the auction. Lu Muan did not photograph this artifact. Among her relatives and friends, only herself and Mingxiu had the most prominent fire attributes, but they didn't need it. Soon the auction items were sold, and the price of the first high-grade artifact has been rising continuously. The final auction price of no item is less than 500 million low-grade spirit stones. Is rarely held. This situation also indirectly shows that the resources and financial resources of the Sea clan are indeed much stronger than those of the human domain. Then a fist-sized grey stone was sent to the booth. The grey stone was ordinary, the surface of the stone was pitted and a little ugly, and it was extremely dull without the slightest luster. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 769. Lum Wan narrowed his eyes when the inconspicuous grey stone appeared at the booth. She turned her head to look at Mo Yan, and sure enough, his dull eyes lit up. This stone is very useful for me to advance to the fusion realm. He and Lum Wan looked at each other and said tacitly. From the look on the woman's face, she knew that she still remembered that the stone was useful to him. Because of this grey stone, Lum Wan remembered the first time he met Huo Xiao in the extreme cold city. I don't know what happened to my apprentice, Lum Wan sighed. Before leaving Tianling continent, she instructed Huo Xiao on a lot of artifact refining techniques, and handed over many of the artifact refining secrets she knew to him, and also left behind a large amount of cultivation resources. At that time, Huo Xiao was a 6th rank artifact refiner, and now he should have broken through to 7th rank. With your influence in the Tianling continent and the resources you left behind, he should be doing well. Mo Yan paused and said, but his cultivation aptitude is still a lot worse than that, although you are trying to cleanse the marrow. Yes, but it's not very likely to break through the Danyuan realm in the Tianling continent. It is not that you can cultivate all the way if you have the resources, aptitude, talent, and opportunity are indispensable. With Lum Wan's care and the resources left behind, Huo Xiao has no suspense to cultivate to Sword God. It is only a matter of time, but if he wants to soar, it will be difficult unless he encounters his own chance. Well, I hope to see him soar in the future. The master led him into the door to cultivate himself, and Lum Wan also knew that the chance of soaring with Huo Xiao's talent was relatively slim. Huo Xiao was her first and only apprentice. She still hoped that the other party would go further. She had done everything that she could do for him in Tianling continent, and he still had to rely on him for the future. On the auction table, the vice president began to introduce the origin and function of the dark grey stone. The old man guesses that many people here don't know what the stone is and what it does. The vice president saw that everyone below showed a curious look, and many demon cultivators had burning eyes. He smiled, it's a ghost stone. Hearing this name, many people from the Sea clan showed disappointment in their eyes. Anything linked to the word demon must have something to do with demon cultivators. Sure enough, the vice president continued, this demon spirit stone is only useful for demon pets or demon cultivators, and it is not of much use to sword masters. Master Jean, what effect does the stone have on the monster pet? A curious question came from a private room. The vice president said with a smile, the effect of the demon spirit stone is actually the same as the comprehension stone we need. However, the comprehension stones that our sword masters need are divided into many types of attributes, and the combination of attributes is only useful to us, but the demon spirit stone contains all the attributes and is useful to all demon cultivators. He paused and continued, the most important thing is that this inconspicuous fist-sized demon spirit stone also contains the power of a law, and it is a treasure that is difficult for 1,000 years for demon cultivators in the fusion realm. Even more than a god-level spirit. The demand for such treasures is too small. Generally, only demon cultivators will buy them. Few people will spend a lot of money on such treasures for spiritual pets. And the demon cultivator is generally much poorer than the disciples of the big family of the Sea clan, so this piece of demon spirit stone was not auctioned as the finale. The demon cultivators below and in the private room heard the vice chairman's fiery gaze, as if they were about to merge with dark grey stones. Not to mention the other demon cultivators, even the other spirit pets in the private room were heartbroken. However, no one, including Long Yao, wanted to fight with Mo Yan. They only hoped that Lum Wan could quickly take it down for Boss Mo. Old Jean, take a quick photo. A heavy and deep voice came from a private room on the third floor. The identity of the demon cultivator who owns the private room on the third floor should have an extraordinary origin. As soon as the voice came out, Lum Wan realized that he was a demon cultivator. Ye King Han said, in the four major seas, in addition to the Sea Clan of the Sea, there are also the Royal Sea Monster Clan. They have separate spheres of influence in each sea area, and they are very powerful. The four sea clans have not suppressed them. The Sea Clan and the Sea Monsters have differences and fights on interests, but they will work together when dealing with foreign clans. The Kraken is a very special kind of existence, that's why you only see so many demon cultivators in the royal city, he added. So it is. Lum Wan smiled, but this thing is of great use to Mo Yan, so I can only grab it. Come on, they don't dare to find fault with my Bihai royal family. Ye King Han has always indulged Lum Wan, and he knows what she likes to do. In the realm of people, Mingxiu has a noble status, and Lum Wan has the support of Mingxiu in everything he does, so he can't do anything for him. But even if Lum Wan pierced a hole in the sea, he could help her fill it up. It is good. Haha. The vice president said with a smile, some people can't wait, and the old man will no longer sell things. The demon spirit stones are being auctioned now. The auction price is as low as 500 million low-grade spirit stones. Each time the price is increased, it must not be less than 1 million spirit stones. 600 million. 700 million. A billion. 2 billion. After a while, the price of the Kung Fu auction was topped at 2 billion, and there were many Sea Clan dignitaries who wanted to try the auction for spiritual pets. When the price reached 4 billion, the number of demon cultivators bidding gradually decreased, and the voices of the people from the Sea Clan basically went out. 5 billion. Lum Wan felt that it was almost the same, so he began to ask for the price. And she didn't think that the price of the demon spirit stone would be able to be photographed, and it was estimated that there would be some fluctuations. Hearing that someone directly raised 1 billion yuan, the Sea Clan present all showed the look of watching a good show. And the Krakens are indignant. What is a Sea Clan to mix with their Krakens? 6 billion. The deep voice in the private room on the third floor called for the price for the first time. 6.5 billion. A flamboyant female voice sounded in the private room of Zihai on the third floor. This voice, Lum Wan, recognized that it was the second princess of the West Sea who had a grudge against her. 8 billion. She continued to call for the price lazily. Many people present were speechless about her increase in price, and the Sea Clan and Sea Monsters sitting in the seats below were even more shocked. Do you two Sea Clans have to compete with our Sea Monster for the Demon Spirit Stone? The heavy voice carried a bit of anger. Lum Wan's voice still had a bit of laziness in her voice. Isn't my spirit pet interested in this Demon Spirit Stone? Can't I buy it for my Kraken friends? The voice of the second princess sounded at the same time. The tone of the two of them is a bit arrogant and domineering. Anyway, I will not give in. The Sea Monster who spoke took a breath. Very good, 10 billion. He is bound to win the Demon Spirit Stone, but their Kraken clan is much worse than the Sea Clan in terms of wealth, and while he is angry, a sense of helplessness also arises. 101 billion. The second princess continued to bid. Lum Wan said, 11 billion. For her local tyrant-like price increase, everyone present twitched the corners of their mouths. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 770. Lum Wan called out the price of 11 billion low-grade spirit stones, which made those sea monsters itch with hatred. I wondered how these two damn women could be so rich. 105 billion. The deep voice in the Kraken's private room sounded again, with a little feeling of going out. This is his bottom line, he doesn't want to deal with two women. Can he succeed here? After a while, the second princess called again, 15.1 billion. 16 billion. Lum Wian's lazy voice also sounded. She is too lazy to raise the price first, anyway, as long as she presses down on the other party, she can take pictures of the item. You two women are cruel, this king remembers you. The deep-voiced master snorted coldly with anger. He was unwilling to do anything about what he was about to get was snatched by the 2C clan. Although he belongs to a small king in the sea monsters of the South China Sea, his financial resources are still far behind the big forces of the Sea clan. Thank you for your kindness, in fact, you don't need to remember me, Lum Wian said jokingly. The second princess is beautiful, you just need to remember her. Those present who heard her words didn't know what to say. The second princess snorted coldly, 161 billion. 107 billion. Lum Wian said, is it interesting that you have 100 million and 100 million? Not only is it wasting your own time, but it is also wasting other people's time. Come to the bottom. Isn't this second princess very perverted and hot? Such procrastination is boring. You. The second princess's voice was incomparable, you must grab the demon spirit stone with Ben Gong. What is robbing the demon spirit stone? I'm bidding at a normal auction. If you don't understand the rules, let the waiter of the Royal Chamber of Commerce explain it to you before bidding, Lum Wian said eloquently. Very good, you are arrogant enough. The second princess snorted coldly, 18 billion. This piece of demon spirit stone was very important to her. She didn't follow the bid because she was motivated, but at this time, blood was dripping in her heart, and 18 billion was close to half of all her savings. 20 billion, Lum Wian said casually. You deliberately act against me. The second princess now has the urge to kill Lum Wian immediately. How dare this woman act against her like this? Lum Wian replied, my spiritual pet likes this stone. If you want it, continue to follow the price, and if you don't, give it up. The second princess was extremely angry, but she stopped talking. If it was higher than 20 billion, there was no need for her to take action. First, she had reached the bottom line of the spiritual stone she could give, and second, it was not worth it. After all, she still wants to shoot other things, and there are a few finale pieces in the back, and she doesn't want to lose it. In the end, Lum Wian photographed the demon spirit stone for 20 billion yuan. Soon an elder of the Royal Chamber of Commerce sent the demon spirit stones to their private room and took away the 20 billion spirit stones. Such a large number of Lingxi chambers of commerce are generally collected after the shooting to prevent someone from making false reports. Of course, the possibility of false reporting in such a top-level large-scale auction is very small. The organizer is mainly afraid that the bidder will use the spirit stone for the bidding of other items and will not bid it before, so the villain first, then the gentleman. Lum Wian took the dark grey stone and played with it for a while, and found that there is indeed a kind of rule power hidden in it. All elements have attributes, but he couldn't comprehend it. Here she threw the demon spirit stone to Mo Yan. Mo Yan stretched out his paws to catch it, and it was quickly absorbed into his body. If he hadn't had to look at the auction items below, he would have wanted to start to understand it directly. You haven't reached the level of comprehension of demon spirit stones. I heard that there are a lot of demon spirit stones in the outer territory battlefield. I will find them for you when the time comes. Mo Yan thought about the few spirit pets. Say. He doesn't want to swallow the demon spirit stone alone. If other spirit pets can understand it, he doesn't mind everyone using it together. The reason why he can directly comprehend the demon spirit stone of this level is because his cultivation base has reached the middle level of fusion in the past, otherwise he will definitely go into the devil. Boss Mo is the best. Meow Meow and Chawang were moved. Bingji flattered, this level of demon spirit stone naturally requires Boss Mo to use it. The Kraken and the ugly princess on the opposite side don't even look at what they are, and they dare to snatch it from us. The other spiritual pets didn't think about robbing Mo Yan at first, but after hearing his words, their hearts were even warmer, and their boss Mo still thought of them all the time. The next royal family chamber of commerce photographed a lot of 9th grade spirit herbs and spirit objects, which were basically photographed by Lum Wan. The most important thing is that every time the second princess asks for a lot of items she needs, so she can only deal with this enemy who hates her to death. Another auction item, the second princess and Lum Wan competed for it, and finally was suppressed by Lum Wan's high price. You are determined to fight against Ben Gong and grab something today, right? The second princess said angrily. Don't think that Ben Gong will not dare to touch you if the Prince of Beihai supports you. This is already a clear threat. Lum Wan sneered and said indifferently, no way, who made me so poor that only Lingxi was left? When I saw what I liked, I wanted to shoot. If you are not convinced, just use the Lingxi to press me. Immediately, she turned and said coldly, of course, as for you want to touch me, I will accompany you at any time, waiting for you. Everyone felt the urge to vomit blood when they heard her words. What does it mean to be so poor that only spirit stones are left? Do you want to hit people like this? When Lum Wan snatched a heaven-level spirit again, she smashed everything that could be smashed in the second princess' private room. I must kill that woman. Her eyes were red with murderous intent. The guards in the private room did not dare to say a word, trying to reduce their presence as much as possible, for fear that she would take them out if she was unhappy. Such top-level large-scale auction items are very precious one after another, and many people from the powerful forces also called for the auction, but a third of them still went into Lum Wan's pocket. An hour later, the vice-chairman said with a smile, today's auction has come to an end, and now we are starting to auction 8 finale items. As soon as his voice fell, a platform rose on the auction platform, and there was a seed exuding colorful glaze on it. The first finale auction item, the colorful glass species, is a god-level spiritual item, which is very useful for wood-type swordsmen. After the introduction, many wood attribute C-clan were moved. Master, this colorful glass seed is very useful to me. As long as I can refine and absorb it, I can have vines with 7 attributes. Shue stared at the colorful seed and said excitedly. Since refining the 5-color demon vine, he has changed from a single attribute to 5 attributes, and his strength and cultivation have improved a lot. Okay, I'll take pictures if it's useful to you. Although the spirit stones that Lum Wan spent before were a huge sum for many major forces, they were only a drop in the bucket for her. After all, so many large-scale spiritual ore veins in the Kanglan realm were not dug in vain.